Next generation technology. It lies behind this shopping experience. This supermarket shares the same digital solutions that powers this farm. Elevators, advertising, and even Singapore's traffic flow. And this is how it all happens. Much of the way we live and work today is shaped by our digital experience. It is traced back to 2014 when the Smart Nation Initiative was launched by Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. The vision was for a nation where people could live meaningful and fulfilled lives, enabled seamlessly by technology.
Well, I think we are pretty smart, maybe ahead of many countries. But can we do more?
In less than a decade, Singapore has transformed. But to become a smart nation also means building on the elements that have been put in place.
I know of a lot of businesses who are thinking of putting their business onto a digital platform. They are looking at digitalization as a way to innovate, but they can't do it alone.
In urban farming, there are more than one thing to sense. However, there are limited sensors that connect to a cloud dashboard.
所以，如果你讲数码的话，是非常的方便。当然是要用到光纤，要用到云端来配合啦。
Smart Digital Junction will use basic cameras, CCTVs, to collect visual information of the traffic, of the pedestrian, also of the environment. And then using data analytics and AI actually to make sense of the trends within the junction. And because there's a involvement of collection of a large amount of visual data, and then being able to, I think, process them in time to actually optimize the flow within the junction, there is a need for us to consider having infrastructure support.
Singapore Pool, we do have 300 outlets island-wide. We want to pilot a few outlets to invest in video analytics. So we need a good partner to be able to help us to create a very cost-effective video analytic platform for us to better understand our customer profile, their interest in terms of content, so that we can further improve our community message.
To respond to the needs of businesses as well as Singapore's Smart Nation Challenge, SPTEL carved itself a niche. It began offering business-class digital service solutions. Shortly after the move, the 2021 Singapore Business Awards title of Telecom's Innovator of the Year went to this offshoot of two large Singapore corporations.
SPTEL became a joint venture between SP Group and ST Engineering since 2017, leveraging on SP Group's strengths in infrastructure, as well as ST Engineering's expertise in innovative network ICT solutions to meet the needs of the digital era. By bringing the two sets of strengths together, we're able to better support Singapore's drive towards a smart nation, as well as support digital transformation in a faster pace. We're able to offer an added layer of redundancy and resilience in the digitalized world where uninterrupted connectivity is critically important. Because of our software-defined network, we're able to offer flexible digital services that allows customers to pay on demand and use on demand, thereby reducing their total cost of ownership over the lifetime of their applications. Allow them the power of agility, the ability to summon computing power and services as and when needed, so that they minimize idle capacity without having to oversize their investments. Over the long term, that gives them the ability to scale up as they grow without necessarily the upfront so-called heavy assets investments that they traditionally needed in the past. Because of our prolific fiber nodes around the country, almost 500 of them, it allows us to bring edge computing much closer to customer applications than before, allowing customers to enjoy low latency as well as a real-time decision making. That's where SPTEL plays a role in the ecosystem.
By being a service provider that offers flexible options, businesses enjoy the power of agility.
And so this really motivates myself and my team when we are given the opportunity to design and implement a new network from scratch. By that, I'm really talking about our network bandwidth can be consumed just in time or as and when they need. So this whole platform as a service allows customers to really stage their investment and not oversize the network, oversize the ICT requirement. And that allows them to slowly scale their transformation, their digitalization journey.
For network services providers, they need to make sure that they have a very strong foundation layer. Provide those basic services that is secure, how to build in redundancy, how to ensure that the services they provide is always on. Digital natives' approach to network, if companies or providers can, what I call a bill on tap, there will be a customer savings. It's a requisite nowadays.
Shengxiong, the neighborhood supermarket chain, uses SPTel's software-defined network. Their need was for the flexibility to create their own customized solutions without the cost of buying into high bandwidth or hardware.
以前2002年之前，我们是用电子收音机所以现在我们是用电脑的收音机。那么在2006年的时候呢，我们开了比较多的店面。那么我们有这个 POS 的收音机，还有我们进入一些电子的价钱标签。在2011年的时候，我们搬来6890这个新厂，那么我们就组装了那些登检系统，开始了无纸张作业。拣货员呢，只要打进他的号码或者输入他的指纹，那么他就可以知道他去哪一排拿货，所以就是这个一体的啦。我们有那种智能的摄像头它可以通知我们的店长，现在你的柜台已经设满了人，你要开多几台柜台，或者是说要人来帮忙包装，来控制这些人流，什么等等。所以如果你讲数码的话，是非常的方便，当然是要用到光纤，要用到云端来配合了。
SPTel's fiber network runs through unique fiber pathways following SP Group's power cables. These are all linked up through 500 connected pervasive hubs around Singapore. This translates into what business users need, as well as demand for service providers, a service that offers responsiveness and reliability.
Our network is designed to minimize the number of hops that data travels through from point A to point B, such that we achieve less than 1 millisecond latency island-wide. We provide resiliency by going to 2 of our edge nodes, such that in case of one disturbance on one path, the network automatically fails over to the secondary path. When I pull out one of these fiber pairs, it's to simulate a fiber cut or disturbance on one of the routes. So when I do that, you will find there's a minimal data loss of less than 1 second. And the network automatically switches over to the next available node. So if I were to pull out both pairs, then you will see that the network gets totally disconnected.
Having peace of mind may mean for some businesses having control in any situation. That is, being able to scale up or down a service according to what the business owners need and not what the service provider has set out.
We are looking at the SPTel portal, which is able to tell us the bandwidth utilization as well as bandwidth on demand. And from here, we are able to select the bandwidth that we wish to have, as well as the duration, be it by days or by hours. So we selected 4 hours. From here, we will tell the price for these 4 hours. When there's more data transfer between the outlet and the HQ, we can buy the bandwidth ad hocly.
A software-defined network is the foundation in which new capabilities like network as a service can exist. Besides monitoring and scaling bandwidth, it can pinpoint where faults are in the network for quicker problem solving. Proactive solutions such as cybersecurity, DDoS mitigation, and patches can also be pushed to users.
I've been working in the info communication ICT industry for 30 years now. I witnessed for myself how network failure has really disrupted many, many businesses who were already beginning to digitalize, like putting their point of sales in the cloud, putting the loyalty management program in the cloud. And the moment when the broadband died, All these SME that sits on only single link with no network diversity, no resiliency in their design, were totally crippled for many, many hours, some even days.
The hard facts can't be denied. Service failure can happen at any time to anyone, and for any number of reasons.
有一次这个网络的那个系统电话线全部被烧了，这边烧了就没有连线了，资料没有办法输送了，就是你不可以改价钱了，你不可以所说的我现在换了，你换不到，就中间电算跟总部断线了嘛，就没有办法拎了。那么要订货的话，我们就拿 U 盘从那个电脑收取那个资料，然后才放入总部的电脑，那么才可以分货。那分货那边有没有连线也不可以收货，只是这个单暂时放住在那边，每个产品拿一个出来。等一下可以连线的时候，我们才 scan 这个产品几箱，然后慢慢把单进回去，会麻烦一点呐。
This is the period where everybody is trying to sing the song of digitalization. And yet, for one small weak chain in the supply, we could actually kill the entire digitalization for so many customers out there. And that really wants us to do something different and to introduce much better performance and network resiliency into Singapore.
Watching plants grow with IoT is not as dull as you might think. Rain or shine, vital information is being gathered across Singapore. This is through a network of sensors mapped out under Singapore's Smart Nation Blueprint.
So for the transactional routine work, the machines is able to take over, right, through AI and so forth. And with the data, they are able to now glean insights, eliminate internal bottlenecks, and also potentially reducing their cost to serve.
Providing the data that's used to develop solutions through the Smart Nation sensor platform are a range of sensors both outdoors and in homes and buildings. These are sensors that track water levels and drainage, smart lampposts that use sensors to measure air quality, rainfall, as well as ambient light, and even sensors that track the use of water or water leaks. Mr. Payaki has spent 50 years in the lift and escalator industry, starting his own business in 1996. The Lift Hub founder has seen many changes in his industry through the decades.
以前你要带一部电梯上啊，就有种心理负担呐，就是说，怕不懂这个电梯会困门或者会伤到人吗？那么就是有没有安全性啊？那时候的故障率也是很高。当电梯开始启动，好像坐火车这样，会震动，停的是要动一下。所以现在已经很舒服，还根本没有什么感觉。以前电梯通常是电器的那个结构跟机械这方面，两个配合在一起，电子是比较少部分。电梯的控制速度，以前的是一个单数的电梯，然后90年代的时候，它就变成交流跟频率控制了。现在更简化一点，就是做你骑的control了。
As technology moved in the lift industry, this pioneer generation Singaporean decided to adopt tech solutions that would make a difference in his business.
以前你做一部电梯所耗的人工是不少的。而且在修理方面是要一些有电子方面的控制系统，现在已经属于你用一个操作器就可以操作那个电梯。什么故障，你就去那边查就好了，不要从头这样一直查到来，它就已经告诉你什么故障在那边了。数码化这样，它能够改进就是维修维保，数码化把电梯的故障率会降到0为止。
Working alongside Mr. Pei for just as many years, Ramli bin Haron handles the maintenance team. This job entails making checks on their customers' lifts in buildings across Singapore.
This is where our lift technicians have to do the work when they come up to the top of the list. They have to check through the checklist to check the components one by one.
Each job used to range from as short as 30 minutes or up to 2 hours. Then in 2020, Lift Hub started using sensors in its lifts.
So with these sensors, we can measure data from the door operator. Like this one, we can measure on the lift vibration, and for this, we can measure on the leveling. From the sensors, we collect the data through a gateway. There is a LoRaWAN gateway provided by SPTEL. The bottom line is that we have the data visualized through our dashboard. We can monitor the lifts remotely from our office or even use our phone. From the dashboard, we can make our decision faster than ever. We can decide what to do with the components, maybe to repair or to replace.
对客户更好处，他马上知道我的电梯使用为什么会坏。可能他说，我买了个数码化的电梯之后，第一点我可以安全使用，第二点我的电力不需要用费这么多，故障能够找到解决它的故障问题。现在他还的钱，知道这个为什么要还到钱，知道它的 life span 是多久，还没有启用坏的之前呢，sensor 会告诉你，这个东西已经开始要坏了，要马上要处理要换。
Okay, this is the internet as a service.
Another reason why Lift Hub adopted digitalization is its awareness of a need to keep an eye on the future of the industry.
We need to upskill the technicians also on how to set up the sensors, how to install, and how to configure. In future, they can understand more than how to collect the data. At the same time, we are looking at younger generations to join this industry, especially our locals, to expand locally and globally maybe. So they have to set that goal, and we try to achieve that in a very short time.
Lifts are not the only places where the use of sensors are on the rise. This is an urban farm. It's parked on the rooftop of an HDB car park.
At Abbey Farm, we are strong believers of using innovative technologies to solve challenging problems and limitations of agriculture farm in Singapore. The spark came from, we have been helping farmers overseas, in our neighboring countries like Sarawak, Indonesia. Why not look at our own local market right now? Singapore needs to be more reliant inward to actually have our own produce for the next generation to be more self-sustainable.
The farm, which has a school and high-rise homes as its neighbors, produces a healthy stock of fruit and vegetables.
小白菜, chai sim, kailan, bayan spinach. And we do have Japanese Fujisawa melons and microgreens such as your mustard and fenugreek growing as well. I would say I have two favorites. One is 小白菜, and for fruits-wise, I would say I'm very excited for our Japanese melons because we do see it blooming even right here in Ang Mo Kio site right now.
And what makes it all possible for this young farmer and her partners? It's not a green thumb, but IoT.
So this is our vertical farming growing rack. We do have IoT sensors in place here as well in order to ensure optimal growing conditions for our plants. So if you can take a look here, there is a light sensor to tell us what is the light intensity right now that the grow lights are giving to the plants. And we have an air temperature and humidity sensor to ensure that the temperature and humidity levels are in optimal range. Over here is our centralized on-site panel where you can take a look at the EC and the pH levels. And if any of the EC or pH levels are not in optimal range, it will trigger this doser for nutrients to be automatically added into the mixer tank right at the bottom of our rack. At Abbey Farm, we are heavy users of IoT to ensure optimal environment to produce high-quality crops with no pesticides. Because of our IoT and automation technology in place, we leave our produce untouched from germination all the way to ready for harvest. And this means that the whole thing is actually taken care by our system. It's very clean and it saves us at least 28 man-days just on the effort required to take care of the plants daily as compared to traditional farming. In urban farming, there are more than one thing to sense, and there are specialized farming sensors around the world available. However, there are limited sensors that connect to a cloud dashboard. SPTel IoT solution can link to our cloud database as well as seeing on their cloud dashboard in a real-time basis. So this also allows us to connect to different farming specialized devices by different providers, all connected to a single platform in SPTel IoT as a service. So all these data are collected in terms of unit measurements, and these data are transported to the centralized on-site system through LoRaWAN network, and thereafter it will be synced up to the cloud database and application for AI data analytics, as well as our farmers to remotely monitor what the sensors are showing right now. When we started ABBYFARM, we are looking into IoT technology to help us to sense the data. SPTel is a very strategic partner for us because they came and let us know that, hey, we do have a ready IoT as a service solution for you that you can quickly implement into your farm. And it will not only save time, but it also help us to save costs for the capital outlay compared to when we're doing it ourselves. We are able to save at least $100,000 and 4 to 6 development time for a brand new IoT technology solution.
Just as how mobile phones connect to 5G and Wi-Fi, sensors need a way to connect to each other to push data. While sensors can rely on Wi-Fi and 5G, there is the problem of congestion and high-frequency bandwidths that require more power. If the sensors are deployed in hard-to-reach areas, imagine laying power lines or the number of battery changes needed. LoRaWAN is short for Low-Powered Wide Area Wireless Network Protocol. It operates on lower bandwidth, which provides larger coverage up to a few kilometers, which is ideal for small packets of data like those from sensors. Sensors connected to LoRaWAN can last up to 8 to 10 years where they're placed without the need to replace the batteries. When scaled up, LoRaWAN can support hundreds and thousands of sensors and IoT devices in a large area.
So all these sensors today may come from all parts of the world, but they all talk consistently to LoRa. And we pilot with them or we do proof of concept with them to show that it actually will meet their business requirement before you move on to the phase of deploying this island-wide for them. We are able to really bring down the cost of deploying IoT sensor and to manage the entire sensor network consistently on a common platform that can be shared across multiple businesses.
IoT is important because you can control how your farm will produce, and with such a control by the system that is sometimes even better than a human managing a farm, we are able to produce high quality crops and good fresh tasting vegetables and fruits for our locals here in Singapore.
Maintain speed or slow down before the traffic lights change. No need to keep guessing. The answers could come through the cloud. There are approximately 974,000 registered vehicles in Singapore, and they crisscross more than 9,000 kilometers of road and expressways that run across the island. Despite the growth in traffic over the years, official reports state the average peak hour traffic speeds have not deteriorated. But how could things get better?
Urban Solution is actually a new creation at ST Engineering. It actually pulls together all our business offerings relating to smart city under one single portfolio. In that way, we can actually reach out to our customers with a comprehensive set of solutions to help solve their problems and basically to build better, smarter and greener cities overall. When we look at the problem sets for cities, one of the key problem sets is obviously congestion. And we have been working with cities like Singapore and also elsewhere to implement fairly comprehensive, I would say, end-to-end solutions that enable them to reduce the impact of congestion on the traveling time, and I think more recently to help reduce our overall carbon footprint, I think, for the cities. And amongst the mobility solutions that we actually offer is this smart digital junction. It requires ultra high performance as well as a very secure network. And SPTL with its infrastructural capabilities actually can help and make a difference and enhance essentially our solution suite. The smart digital junction is actually dependent on one key thing, visual sensors. So in the past, when we use induction loops, which is physical circles of the road junction, they have physical detection of the vehicles, but they have no sense in terms of the pedestrian flow as well as other environment factors. If you leave it essentially to a centralized system where there is direct human intervention, there will be latency, longer response time. Not that it doesn't work, but I would say the level of optimization is not going to be as high as if you are able to actually automate the entire system. If you do it using automated artificial intelligence, you actually reduce the latency and the flow will be significantly better. Smart digital junction will use basically cameras, CCTVs, to collect visual information and then using data analytics and AI to make sense of the trend within the junction and then look at how they can do optimization of the flow within the junction.
At the junction, we have these sensors, such as the smart cameras, that use video analytics to detect vehicles, pedestrians, cyclists, and send this information to the edge node for processing. In addition, we have the roadside units that use the V2X technology to communicate with vehicles and again send it to the edge node. This information can then be processed through the control strategies, and the strategies can then send to the controllers here for implementation to control the traffic lights.
Connected cars will become more common in the future. This smart digital junction can give the drivers forewarning, provide information and cues to the drivers so that they can actually adjust their speed before they arrive at the junction so that they can actually cruise through the junction. That basically leads to not only a safer but also a more efficient journey. And if there's a detection on any incident, accidents at the junction and intersection, that information can also be pumped across, potentially recommendations of where the vehicle can divert itself to. We are dealing with a lot of data coming from the visual sensors of vehicle, pedestrian, and of the environment. And if we are to take the approach where after we collect the information and send it via a secure pipe to the central operating center, there will be latency. So it's quite important to see how we can actually do computing at the edge, being able to process visual data in time to optimize the flow within the junction. We need computing at the edge and also very good network connectivity between the junctions and essentially the control center. I think SPTel provides ultra high performance and secure infrastructure. They also offer computing at the edge, which will be very important for smart digital junction.
At times, opportunity presents itself with very large projects that require very large infrastructure investment. That's where SPTel would combine our resources and expertise with the ST Engineering colleagues to be able to craft out a customized solution for this large project. The ST Engineering Smart Digital Junction will make use of our software-defined network to connect all the junctions together using our pervasive fiber network. Now, coupled with our edge cloud, being able to have many of the junctions connect to their nearest edge cloud allow for the data analysis to be done very quickly, and therefore ensuring the entire smart digital junction system will be very responsive to the situation on the ground.
Having computing at the edge actually is very important. The key is to see how we can scale this across the entire road system. So the more the junctions become smarter, more digitalized, the more that we will be able to actually optimize flow, both for vehicular traffic as well as pedestrian.
Edge Cloud is like having all the servers that are needed to process data on site, but without taking up any physical space.
And edge cloud is really about computing and storage on demand. And that really means that many of the small businesses who cannot even afford floor space in a shop now be able to start running a lot of applications at the edge node nearer to them. And that really helped them save a lot of money because if they have 4, 5 branches, instead of every branch just having their own equipment, they can now all share the same node nearest to them.
Unlike other cloud services that are usually located overseas, SPTel keeps everything close to home. Tapping on 500 connected pervasive hubs for its edge cloud, data is processed locally compared to having data traveling halfway around the world where it's stored and processed.
Our edge cloud is really hosted in the local secure environment, and that we can assure customer of data sovereignty because we know of many compute platforms where the data is actually being processed outside Singapore. And so for some sensitive industry, or for some customers who are very careful over the data storage environment, they can be assured that we provide them with this peace of mind.
Singapore Pools relies on edge cloud computing. This is to support their charity efforts.
Singapore Pool, since 2003, we have done a lot of charity work. A lot of Singapore Pool staff volunteer to support the youth, the children, and the elderly in the community. So what we are going to do in the next step is to increase or expand our community giving to provide a better outreach to the public so that they are able to encourage to come and join us to support the charity in Singapore. In the past, we just basically display poster. We found that it's not effective because we do not know who responds to the poster. So we are looking at whether are we able to leverage on technology. Instead of poster, we put it into the digital signage. And then the content can be changed every 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So with the video analytics, at least when the display changes, we will know whether the customer like to see the content A or they want to see the content B. So we'll pass the information to the charity organization to further improve their content. Once they improve, obviously, the customer would like to be involved in the charity work or charity event of that particular organization. Or they may want to donate by scanning their QR code directly to that organization. Basically, if you walk into any of the outlets, we do not know who are you. So the privacy of the customer is still being protected. Singapore Pool, we do have 300 outlets island-wide. To invest in video analytics at every outlet is very costly. We want to leverage on our partner like SPTel to pilot a few outlets. They are able to capture all the video analytics in the cloud and then be able to push the information back to us. So it's a very cost-effective way. We are able to enable the nearest cloud service from SPTel to support multiple outlets at once. We are able to create a very cost-effective video analytic platform to better understand our customer profile, their interests in terms of content, so that we can further improve our community message.
Just like our physical security, we lock our doors and so on, and in the digital world is the same.
Finding opportunities to add value through the infrastructure and growing portfolio of services is what drives the SPTel team. Motivated to lead and shape the IT industry, SPTel's CEO is proud of the plug-and-play service that looks simple and friendly. But behind the scenes, it's a totally different story.
First of all, we talk about security at 2 levels. One is the physical level, and the other one is really the cyber level. At the physical level, our network equipments are all hosted in our secured local facility. And on top of all this secured local facility, we also invested heavily into smart facility technology, where we are making use of IoT sensors, video analytics to secure our assets and also our access into the network.
We are now at the edge node, where we place our active equipment to serve our end customer. These cameras and sensors will be able to detect a few things. First of all is the loitering actions. Second thing is whether you are authorized personnel. And third thing is what you are doing around these locations. This device here makes use of video analytics and fingerprint information to give you permission to get into the edge node. You can see you have a video analysis and thumbprint analysis. This is a rack where we stored all our active equipment. In order to access a rack, we must be given the permissions. Even we have access to the rack, the equipment itself are being tagged accordingly. Let me demonstrate to you, if I remove an equipment wrongly, the information will be picked up by our Integrated Operations Center. As I remove the rack, the Integrated Operations Center have already picked up the information, and they will carry out the necessary SOP to ensure everything is handled properly. All these Edge hubs are all automated, and with automation, the human error will be able to be reduced.
And so that allows us to really automate many of the operational process, thereby achieve a high level of efficiency in running our operation that translate into actually reliability.
For customers like Singapore Pools, security means having a robust infrastructure with an added layer of cybersecurity. That means being able to activate more security features such as DDoS mitigation and virtual firewalls when needed.
Cybersecurity is always a pain point to us. You can be a DDoS attack through the video analytics is quite common, but we do have a measurement, we do have a prevention. So when we are under the attack, how fast can we recover the service is the utmost important for Singapore Pool. By leveraging our SPTel, they do have a default security framework in their network. For example, the DDoS mitigation. We are able to turn on the DDoS mitigation as and when we want. So that is a very good thing that why we want to leverage our SPTel.
When it comes to cybersecurity, size doesn't matter. Some businesses mistakenly believe that having a security network is crucial only if the organization is large.
Just like our physical security, we lock our doors and so on, is fundamental. And in the digital world, is the same. Make sure that security has to be put in place because it's a potential reputational risk. So it does not mean that because they are not able to afford and have the right talent pool to do this, then they do not need to have it. There is a need.
Having in place what SPTel describes as the ecosystem to help businesses move ahead is what inspires this team. They see themselves not just as a digital service provider, but being an enabler as well.
For businesses that are keen to take on digitalization and to be inspired for the long haul, they must see the benefit of digitalization. And we are able to help them look at the total cost of ownership between a traditional model and one that is more automated and more digitalized. The change in architecture will not only help them save costs, but give them a lot more agility, and also, most important, a platform to innovate. We have to help these businesses see the potential of the network by working with them on POC, proof of concept, or for trials, and to bring in solution like in the world of IoT, linking that back into how they can automate their operational process. I think these are some of the things that we can do to show the businesses the benefit of digitalization. We want the network to move from being a dependency to becoming a platform for innovation.
Okay, once we install this sensor correctly, digitalization is very important now because we have to make sure that we are at the same or around the same level as the MNCs. And as a local small company, it is very important as a solution for how to sustain the business.
So at AbiFarm, we are looking into innovative technology and to train up the next agri-technologies, agri-farmers, urban farmers that really knows not just the farming, but also technology side in order to help achieve 24/7 unmanned self-regulating farms. And this will enable farming industry to even increase in crop yield at a faster rate and being unmanned.
我感觉 SPTel 应该有很大的潜能了，所以因为它刚刚起步，它可以用最新的科技，它一碰就是人脸识别了，还有光纤，还有云端，这些都已经有了。比喻这样，早出世的人慢开通，迟出世的人早开通了。
When we bring our digital technologies, not only in the mobility realm, but also in other parts of the city, such as smart building, smart estate, connected networks of sensors, smart meters, and so forth. I think the underlying backbone infrastructure and the services that SPTel brings to the table enable us to actually scale rapidly to solve the problems for our customers.
It appears that the elements to become a smart nation are falling into place. But what more is there to be done?
We got to bear in mind, smart nation does not equal to only the government services being digitalized. We are also talking about all the other businesses embracing the change to a more digital world. The SME makes up 99% of the registered business in Singapore. But I think there are a lot more we can do. We've got to think about many of the businesses which really want to take the digitalization journey, but they can't do it on their own. To revitalize their perspective of what can be done with the latest technology we're rolling out, so that they can actually leapfrog and really deliver a more digitalized commercial environment in Singapore as well. Between the government digitalization and the commercial digitalization, I think that's where we will find the answer for a smart nation, what it should be like for Singapore.
Beyond this, how do we then bring different players to collaborate across the different sectors in a very secure way that will continue to build on this whole trust brand that we have in Singapore? Because of our small size and finite resources, it is important different players find ways not to have too much duplication. There should be some level of competition, but there should be a good level of cooperation as well.
But digitalization journey is a very long journey. It's likened to an ocean that has shallow water areas and deep water areas. And I think that's where SPTel comes in with an environment whereby we could customize our product to be just in time and as a service, so that it will be low cost enough for some of these small business to take the shallow water areas to digitalize. But as they grow bigger in the business and their ambition grows, they become more interested in doing what they call the deep ocean area, where projects become a lot more complicated and complex. That's where our infrastructure, whether is it network, cybersecurity, IoT, or even edge cloud, all these 4 different pillars of capability can also correspondingly scale to the complexity of the deep ocean area for these customers. I think when the tide change, we hope that all the boats are lifted up at the same time. But I believe the industry will rally to that change. It's time that we make the network in Singapore resilient for a smart nation.
I hope that businesses would take a small step forward to understand what is available to them and change their mindset, because the incremental cost of implementing digital solutions are going to be much lower than before, given the solutions that we have for them today. With the 3 key attributes of network diversity, the provision of digitalized services, as well as availability of distributed edge cloud closer to customer locations, SPTel is well positioned to provide reliability with an edge. We are here to complement the existing providers in the digital transformation of the country. We hope that by our investments and our provision of such flexible, low latency, resilient option, that the industry would rally, and that will help bring the whole ecosystem to a higher level of digitalization going forward.
Brought to you by SPTel and the following partners.